Dragon Ball fans are cooking again. Daima and Sparking Zero looking godly, and the 10th arc of Dragon Ball Super, possibly the Black Frieza arc, on the horizon. But this is the Tournament of Power arc, many people's favourite arc, very exciting anime adaptation of this arc, but this is on the manga version of the power scaling of the Tournament of Power. Of course, you can access all arcs, all parts, all 9 parts of this series, all in one place, all in one video, including part 0. That video can be accessed now before even all parts are out. This is part 5 of 9. Things start getting wild in the Tournament of Power. Let's go. Next up, the Universal Survival arc that featured the Tournament of Power, where 8 universes competed in a battle for survival. Over 100 new characters were introduced in this arc. I am not covering all characters from this arc. I'm not mental. I'll cover all characters that are somewhat measurable or scalable to Goku and Vegeta or other warriors that have been scaled earlier in this series, but there are some notable absences. In fact, I'll tell you who they are right now. Android 18. She doesn't fight anyone of note. That particularly gives us a pinpoint method in which to scale her. She does fight against Ribrianne, which is a big fight in this arc. However, Ribrianne in the manga doesn't fight anybody of note either, unlike in the anime where she does. 18 does fight the great mighty Pooh. If you got that reference, then we can definitely be friends.
Me. I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
As with many characters in the Tournament of Power in this manga adaptation, a lot of these characters, even though they are newly introduced, even if they are prominent figures, just don't fight anybody of note that's measurable, that's power scalable. Agamo's another one who features a lot in the anime, not really scalable in the manga, and also Analaza, who basically just gets bodied by Kale in the manga adaptation, whereas he puts up a fight against basically almost all of Universe 7 in the anime. So there's the anime manga differences there. I also offer that whilst he's undoubtedly got stronger since the Champa tournament, Piccolo isn't really scalable to any meaningful characters in this arc. By all means, guys, if you think I'm wrong, let me know down in the comment section how you would scale Android 18, Analaza, and Bergamo. Now, this arc spanned from chapter 27 all the way up to chapter 42. 15 and a half chapters because it basically finishes halfway through chapter 42. When the Moro arc begins, the Tournament of Power doesn't technically begin till the end of chapter 33 into chapter 34. So the first 6-7 chapters are mostly exposition, but a lot of sparring matches happen during this time that allow us to do some power scaling. The first one being Vegeta versus Beerus on Beerus's planet. Vegeta shows that he can also use completed Super Saiyan Blue after Goku from the Future Trunks arc, and ultimately Beerus squashes him. It's important to note that Vegeta is stated to be at the same level as Goku now he's attained this version of Super Saiyan Blue, and we also see that Goku hasn't really kept up with his training and is getting caught off guard with bullets, which indicates that Goku's not particularly grown in power since the Future Trunks arc. So I've scaled both Goku and Vegeta using completed Super Saiyan Blue at 10,000. I do believe they've made it to that next level, which marks a higher score for Vegeta. Goku pretty much remains the same from when he used it against Zamasu. Beerus, I put it 10,100. Once again, he has quite a few pluses for the same reason I stated earlier with his earlier Battle of Gods sticker. Basically, once again, he's barely trying, he's not serious, but he did just enough to take out completed Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta when he needed to. Now, whilst I believe the anime actually did the Tournament of Power better than the manga, there are some circumstances in which the manga did do better than the anime, and the God of Destruction Battle Royale was definitely one of them. In this 12-man Battle Royale between all Gods of Destructions fighting at full power, Beerus is stated to be expected to be one of the last remaining. Of course, he is one of the last remaining, even after being targeted by 11 Gods of Destructions earlier in that Battle Royale. He is one of the strongest God of Destructions, with his only potential rival being Quitella, so I've scored both Beerus and Quitella at 14,200. I've only given Quitella 2 pluses because I don't know exactly what his hack abilities are. I'm going to assume that he has Hakai, and his other plus is likely because he seems to have some sort of strength hacks because he was stated to beat Beerus in an arm wrestle. But I bet you're probably wondering why 14,000, why have I given him that score? This score will make more context in relevance to the rest of the video once you see everybody else's score, so hold on to that thought. After the Battle Royale, we get Goku vs Topo in chapter 29. Of course, Goku goes through the gears with all the transformations, but I'm only going to scale his upper end transformations, which is Super Saiyan Blue and the Blue Extension forms in the Tournament of Power. Topo basically matches Super Saiyan Blue Goku. As we know later in the Tournament of Power, he matches Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta as well. So I've also scored Topo at 10,000 to match that of completed Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta. Of course, Golden Frieza has been brought back from Hell to fight in the Tournament of Power, and he's gotten stronger through mind training effectively. And whilst it doesn't really give us the battle between Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Golden Frieza, or as many people call it, True Golden Frieza in the manga, it is referenced when Goku and Frieza return from Hell and they have battle scars, with Goku stating somehow Frieza's gotten stronger. So I've also scaled Golden Frieza at 10,000. Obviously he has a plus because of his insane durability. But I have fast forward a little bit because right before that, in chapter, Goku fights against my boy, the motherfucking strategic genius, Android 17. Now, Android 17 has some pretty incredible feats in the anime, but they aren't as impressive in the manga, despite him, winning the Tournament of Power. In this match, he fights off against Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and he's seemingly getting the advantage over Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Where was this guy during the Buu saga? We know he lent some Genki, but he could have actually been fighting Buu. He might have actually stood a chance. But unlike in the anime, Goku doesn't go to Super Saiyan Blue, he stops fighting after Super Saiyan 3. So honestly guys, if I really wanted to put my bias in this, I would score Android 17 a lot higher. But if I'm being faithful to traditional power scaling, I'm going to scale him at 8,500. Now, I've actually put a little symbol there because he actually could be higher. He's got 2 plus marks, 1 because he's an infinite model android, 2 because he's a motherfucking strategic genius. Some people may feel like this is too low because at the end of the Tournament of Power, Goku and Vegeta state that Android 17 is nearly as strong as them. But this is a very vague statement. He doesn't have any feats to particularly corroborate this. I know, he's oozing finesse throughout the Tournament of Power in the manga as well, but he doesn't defeat anybody of significance. And of course, the later it gets in the Tournament of Power, Android 17 is an infinite model android. He's basically still at the same power level and less physically injured as he was at the start of the tournament, whereas everybody else is fatigued and tiring. So in terms of those pluses on these stickers, some pluses potentially are worth more than other pluses because infinite energy is a big one, probably bested only by immortality. So far there are the characters you get a sense of before the Tournament of Power begins, then we get into the Tournament of Power. Like I said, I'm not going to cover every character because there's an abundance of them. First up, we get the legendary assassin Hit. Now this is a trained full power Hit against Jiren. Now both complete Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Hit are fighting against Jiren at the same time. Goku admits to fighting against Jiren at full power. Then Hit powers up, implying that Hit, after the training is done, has actually surpassed Goku in terms of raw power here. So giving him 10,100, and of course he has a plus because of his time manipulating abilities. In the manga he uses the time cage, which seemingly slows down Jiren. Of course Jiren's just being Jiren, and he completely cooks Hit, eliminating him from the tournament. Now another prominent character that could be mentioned is Frost, but there's no indication that Frost has got any stronger than what he was in the Universe 6 vs Universe 7 tournament, and basically spends all of his time eliminating weaklings as directed by Frieza, and then is easily eliminated by Final Form Frieza. However, Final Form Frieza was overawed by Super Saiyan Caulifla in chapter 37. So whilst it's hard to scale Caulifla exactly, we just know that she's stronger than Final Form Frieza. We know that Frieza has gotten stronger with his mind training to the point where his golden state is no longer being hampered by stamina issues, but where his final form is at this point is hard to distinguish. So I've given Caulifla a power of 7,000 because I believe that she is portrayed to be the same level as Cabba, and I think it's fair to assume that Cabba's gotten stronger since the Universe 6 vs Universe 7 tournament, and I've also scored him at 7,000. Of course they are no match for Golden Frieza, who considers them insects in this form, and they don't go beyond Super Saiyan in the manga, which I think is another thing the manga did better than the anime. And also of course no tingly back. Of course Frieza spreading Caulifla sets Kale off, who unlocks her legendary Super Saiyan state. Kale basically goes on a mass bodying rampage throughout the tournament, eliminating a lot of characters, including Analyzer, and of course Bunny, who in the anime was eliminated by Ultimate Gohan, and of course has that child. Like, seriously, what the fuck is wrong with that child? Now, she does knock some pretty powerful characters out the way during this rampage, but Frieza does state with his golden state he would have been able to deal with her. What's more, we see her get tactically beaten up by Universe 11 warriors who aren't as strong as her, so she is completely lacking control over her raw power. Also, another indication of where she may lie at is the fact that she eventually fuses with Caulifla. Now, in this fusion, most of the power from that fusion of Kefla comes from Kale, because she's vastly stronger than Caulifla. And Super Saiyan Kefla is basically a match for Ultimate Gohan. And we know at this point that Ultimate Gohan's not as strong as complete Super Saiyan Blue Goku, so I've scored it like this. I've given Legendary Super Saiyan Kale a power of 8,500. She's got a minus for the fact that she actually can't really control her power that well in fighting any sort of meaningful way. And then I've given Super Saiyan Kefla 9,000, being a Super Saiyan fusion. However, Kefla does have control over this power, greater power in fact, and Gohan also has 9,000 due to the fact that he stalemates Kefla. How the hell did Gohan get this strong, I bet you're asking? Well, if you're not that familiar with Gohan by now, it was stated in an extra special in chapter 28 that Gohan, during the Future Trunks arc, was training in a time chamber. So who knows how many years of training he's actually managed to get under his belt. He's re-attained his ultimate form, factor in that he's a genetic freak half-breed Saiyan, and given his power leaps in Z, then, you know, this power jump is actually quite consistent with the rest of the series. Factor in the fact that his ultimate form is actually quite a stable transformation, that's why he gets a plus. Next up is Pride Trooper Dispo, one of my favourite characters introduced during the Tournament of Power. Now, he isn't as busy as he is in the anime of the Tournament of Power, however, in this iteration, he overwhelms Super Saiyan Goku and is completely dominating Super Saiyan Cabba. Now, whilst the other Universe 11 troopers fight off against Kale, Dispo does state that he is a much bigger deal than the ones fighting against Kale and actually dealing with Kale quite well in a Legendary Super Saiyan state. So I don't believe that's enough to put her above Legendary Super Saiyan Kale. However, I don't believe he's too far off, as well as the fact that, you know, we know his speed is his gimmick. So I've given him a plus for height and speed. This isn't unusual in Dragon Ball. You go all the way back to Namek. We remember Berta, who had a similar power level to Jace and Recoome, but was the fastest in the universe. So you can concentrate your ki on a certain aspect of your overall ability, and maybe Dispo's is speed. Now, I know you've been waiting for it, especially you Jirenettes. Up comes Jiren. Now, there's many stickers for Jiren. First one is what I call Efficient Jiren. I've given him a power of 10,800, vastly beyond complete Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Hit, Topo, and Frieza. Now, you're probably all familiar with what happens in the superhero movie where Jiren's explained to be efficient and he only uses the amount of power required to defeat his opponent. He's never really fighting at full power unless that opponent pushes him to full power or matches his full power, which is an important fact when we get to Ultra Instinct versus Jiren. I've given Jiren 10,800 because that's all he really needed to deal with Blue Kaioken Goku and Blue Evolution Vegeta. It gets higher when he faces off against Ultra Instinct Saiyan and complete Ultra Instinct. Now, I've given Blue Kaioken Goku 10,500 because he does get vastly stronger in terms of raw power. Of course, I've given him a minus because we know the Kaioken-like technique he uses ultimately damages his body, which Jiren criticizes. I've given Vegeta 10,700 using Blue Evolution because Jiren directly states that it's the best he's fought other than Ultra Instinct Saiyan, therefore it surpasses Blue Kaioken. However, Blue Evolution Vegeta doesn't have a minus or a plus because it's not indicated to have a particular weakness, it's just not strong enough to defeat Jiren. Now, what you must understand is Jiren's just that motherfucker who just fights you at your own power level, even though he has a lot more in reserve. You may think this was introduced in Superhero, but actually in the manga The Tournament of Power, Jiren tells Vegeta that he puts his life on the line during every fight. In an indirect way, this is him telling us that he's basically fighting almost on par with whoever his opponent is at that time. Have you ever played a computer game against a younger sibling who you know you're a lot better than that, but you want to give them a slight chance so you play lesser to your ability, but still beat them anyway? You're a motherfucker if you do that, but so's Jiren. Have you ever watched your favourite sports team play in first or second gear against an opponent and still marginally beat them, even though if they played at their full potential, they would smash them? They're motherfuckers, just like Jiren. If you're a fan of any real life combat sports, you have to appreciate Jiren as a character. In fact, the manga does a better job than the anime, despite the anime's obvious advantages in terms of a medium, at least in terms of storytelling. Personally, as a fan of real life combat sports, particularly boxing, Jiren's portrayal in the manga with this particular strategy in mind makes him the biggest Chad in Dragon Ball. So he gets a plus for basically what I call ultra efficiency. And I know there's going to be those asking why you're not scaling Roshi, as Roshi seemingly matched Jiren for a short period of time. Well, this falls into what I've just been talking about. Roshi could be at a power level of 1000. In a tournament of power, they're not allowed to kill. Jiren would have had to also fight Roshi at a power level of 1000, except Jiren's that motherfucker. He probably would have fought him with a power level of 1001. When he realised Roshi was a better martial artist than him, which he was in terms of movement, Jiren went up to say a power of 1200 and just eliminated him. But of course, that helped Goku unlock Ultra Instinct Saiyan, which surpassed Jiren, because Jiren in chapter 40 powered up in response to Ultra Instinct Saiyan. So I've given Ultra Instinct Saiyan Goku a power of 11,000, surpassing Jiren's 10,800. He's got a plus because he now has mastery of self movement, which allows him to dodge and gives him speed hacks. Whis specifically states that this Jiren is a serious Jiren. However, the style of fighting must be took into account here. Goku is literally just dodging, he's landing no offensive. Jiren's on the attack, but he can't quite land anything substantial. We know that this is not Jiren's full power due to later in the fight. However, he's likely fighting with the same method. It's just that Goku has mastery of self-movement, so he's evading Jiren's hits. Of course, eventually Goku unlocks Silver-haired Ultra Instinct, who becomes so powerful that he literally rods Jiren through the arena. Now, he completely overwhelms Jiren. This ain't close at this point. Obviously, we know Jiren still isn't at full power, who I'll get to in just a moment. I've ranked this version of Goku at 11,500. He's got 2 pluses because he now has the dodge hacks, the speed hacks. However, Jiren notes that Goku now has exploitations of openings. The only issue with Goku with this form and why he has a minus is because of the toll it takes on his body. He cannot hold it for long. But here's the kicker. Jiren goes to full power, and now this is going to be controversial. I've scored this version of Jiren in terms of raw power level at 11,600. Now the reason for that is you must understand the type of bonuses you get with Ultra Instinct. Jiren, when he gets to full power, is basically matching Ultra Instinct Goku to the point where it becomes a battle of attrition, which Jiren wins, only just, but he does win it. And remember, Goku has hacks like speed hacks, dodge hacks, critical hit hacks, exploitation of openings on his side, coupled with his raw power level. Jiren doesn't have all those hacks alongside his raw power level, other than the fact he's very efficient with his ki. So he must have a higher level of raw ki reserves in order to keep up with this version of Goku. It's just not substantial enough of a difference to defeat this silver-haired Ultra Instinct Goku, as we see later in the series. That's why I've given Jiren 11,600. His raw power is greater, but it's not great enough to beat Ultra Instinct Goku's equalizers that come with Ultra Instinct. Of course, after this big battle, everybody else is basically fighting on scraps of their reserves, so nobody else is particularly worth scaling from here on. It's not them at their full power. One more character I can scale is another God of Destruction. We know that Jiren, in terms of raw power at least, is stronger than his God of Destruction, Belmod. So I'm being kind to Belmod. I'm also going to scale him at 11,500. We know he has Hakai, and we know that he's a very tricky god and can use clown-like attacks. So I've given him a plus for that. Now, all the other Gods of Destructions are hard to pinpoint in terms of where their power lies. I'm not going to say Belmod is the weakest God of Destruction because that's hard to corroborate, but in terms of scalable Gods of Destructions, we at least know this is the starting point for the ladder of God of Destruction raw power levels. Beerus, of course, being at the top of that ladder. Whew, okay, that's the Tournament of Power done with. So, to conclude, and I know this is going to be contentious, and even I am diametrically opposed to it in the anime adaptation of Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power, but Jiren is the strongest in terms of raw power reserves. In terms of our lovable bar chart, I am knocking Vegito Blue and the Gods of Destructions off because it's nice to see somebody else leading the chart for a while, and of course, they are subject to potential change in the Moro arc. Now, some of the contentious stances that I put forward in this video could be Android 17's power. Give me any reason to scale him higher and I will. Maybe you think Kale should be scaled higher. Or perhaps you don't agree with my Jiren and Ultra Instinct's raw power level assessment for the manga. Of course, make sure your voices are heard down in the comments section.